Hello, welcome to the Dixie Belle YouTube channel. My name is Connie from Faff Designs and I'm one of your Dixie Belle brand ambassadors. In the video today, I'm not going to be touching any furniture. I am actually going to be making over a vase. So this is actually quite a decent sized vase, but it's very dated. It's got a bit of a kind of a grubby gold finish to it. I am going to make this look like a different piece. I'm going to use some texture and I'm also going to use some Terra clay paint to make a really funky upcycled vase. Step one of the vase makeover is always going to be a little bit of cleaning involved. So in my spray bottle I have got a mixture of Dixie Belle's White Lightning cleaner, which is a degreasing cleaner, and then water mixed in with it as well. And I'm just going to spray that all over the vase. You can see this was picked up from a charity shop for a couple of quid, and you can see the grime that's coming off on there. Lovely. And then I'm going to spray it with water and rinse it all off. Step two of the prep work is to prime. This is an essential product if you are painting glass, metal, plastic, ceramic or laminate, and that is Dixie Belle's Slick Stick. Slick Stick is an adhesion primer and I'm applying it with a natural bristle brush. I'm using a premium chip brush here and I'm dabbing it all over the surface because I want a little bit of texture in my finish. So you are going to need to do 2 coats of Slick Stick for it to work. And here I am doing the second coat. Just wait for the first coat to dry thoroughly before applying the second, and then let that one dry for 24 hours before your next step. The next step is to paint a base colour. So I'm choosing the colour Desert Tan from the Terra clay paint range, and again I'm stippling this all over to promote a little bit of texture on the surface because I want a really kind of textured chippy look with this vase, and this paint is perfect for getting that look. Once that had dried, it normally takes a couple of hours to fully dry. I then locked that base layer or that base colour in with a top coat. I'm using Terra Tough and you can see it's just making that colour basically come back to the colour that it was when I applied it, when the paint was wet. And this is basically going to prevent the paint from reactivating with water because we are going to use some water on the next step. In my mister bottle, I've just got some water and I'm going to spritz the surface of the vase lightly with the water. And as you can see, I've got it lying down flat on the surface, and that's because I'm going to sprinkle some sea spray all over the surface. I am kind of placing it on quite randomly, and I'm also wanting some areas that are heavily applied with sea spray and some areas that have got hardly any sea spray on at all. That will become apparent in the next stages. And once I have got my sea spray in the sort of correct position and I'm happy with it, I'm just going to go over it lightly with a mister bottle, and that's going to basically ensure that it dries hard and it's not too powdery on the surface. It's always best to let this dry naturally and not speed it up with a hairdryer because you can risk blowing the sea spray off the surface. So once it's dried completely, then I went in with a 2-tone colour scheme. So you can choose any 2 colours that you wish. I'm going to use white on the top, which is the colour Moonbeam, and then for the bottom half I'm going to use a colour which is a kind of a soft blue. I've done this effect before and I've used a brighter blue, so I'm going to use a little bit of a softer palette this time, and the colour that I'm using is Blue Agave. And again, both colours from the Terra clay paint range. If you do get a little bit of the sea spray falling off at this stage, don't worry too much because it's just going to add to that chippy look. And again, I'm stippling this on the surface. That is going to help with the texture, but it also helps limit the amount of sea spray that comes off of your piece. Also, try and decant some paint if you can, because you can pick up some sea spray on your brush, and obviously you don't want to contaminate your paint when you are dipping your brush back in the paint pot. So decant some onto a plate or a saucer or a separate tub. So I have finished with my application of the white. I'm happy with where that is. And then I'm going to go in with Blue Agave. I'm just going to go straight in. I'm not going to wait for the white paint to dry. So I'm going to work from the bottom and then I'm going to work upwards towards the white paint, because if I started the other way round, obviously they're going to mix together and then I'm going to have white paint on my brush. So I'm going to start at the base and bring the blue upwards towards the white. When I've filled in that bottom part with the blue, I'm then going to kind of merge the two together. So I'm not looking for a perfect blend here. I just want them to kind of melt together a little bit so that there's not any harsh lines. So I'm just using a pouncing motion with my brush to bring the blue and the white together a little bit. I'm not bothered that the line isn't perfectly straight. I kind of want that look. And that is the kind of effect that you will get at this stage. Fast forward a little bit until it was thoroughly dry. Just remember that Terra clay paint just does dry significantly lighter than when you apply it, so that's why it looks completely different now. And then I'm going to get my scraper and just scrape away at the surface. So this is going to remove the sea spray that we added in between the base layer of Desert Tan and then the ombre layer that I just applied. So it's going to scrape away at the sea spray and it's going to reveal that base layer underneath and give a really chippy look. If you apply quite a lot of the sea spray, obviously you're going to get a more chippy look than if you only applied a small amount of the sea spray, but you can really play around with this technique and it's really cool because every time you do it, you're going to get a completely different result. When you've scraped away at the layers, you are going to be left with something like this, which is hard to pick up on the camera because the colours are so much lighter than what they are when I applied it when it was wet. But we are now going to top coat and hopefully you'll be able to see those colours coming back to life. This is Terra Tough and it's my favourite top coat to use with Terra clay paint. I'm using a brush to apply it and I'm just using a really light hand, and you can see as I'm going down into the blue how much the colour changes when I add a top coat. And I did 2 coats of Terra Tough. Just make sure you are applying it really thinly and letting it dry thoroughly in between coats. And here's the finished piece. I hope you can pick up on the chippiness and I hope you can also see how this would translate on a piece of furniture, but it's always really fun to try out on a small piece of home decor first. Thank you for watching the video. As always, I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure if you do have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Make sure you are subscribed to the Dixie Belle YouTube channel for more fun upcycling videos.